Hey everybody, this is your boy John, and today we're going to be talking about Transformers as well as G.I. Joe, Real American Hero. Anyways, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be going over some of the movies. We're going to be, kind of doing a little roasting, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but just stay tuned. What's up, everybody? This is your boy John again, and with me is Matt.
What's up, guys?
And so we've already established this is a G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, and Transformers, Robots in Disguise episode. So again, this is our last episode of really doing that, and we're going to be really, I'm going to say it, man, we're going to be roasting the shit out of G.I. Joe today in their series, and we're going to be talking really about the praising of really Transformers and how well they've done their basically their legacy, in a sense, because they clearly have the edge here. G.I. Joe just literally is all the nostalgic bullshit from back in the day, what we talked about with the animated series and whatnot,
Yeah, I mean, let me just get into this real quick here, because G.I. Joe is one of the best 80s cartoons ever made. And realistically, I mean, it could have been one of the best franchises, movie franchises, but Hasbro had to go, spoon feed us a load of shit. Speen, yeah.
Spoon feed us? Got it here. Okay, go ahead.
So they had to spoon feed us a hot spoonful of shit. And not just one movie, not just two movies, but three movies.
Question, is it a hot pile of shit that they fed us, or was it like really cold old shit that's been sitting out in the yard for a bit?
It's a steaming pile of shit.
So a hot pile. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Yep. Fresh off the plate, yeah.
The franchise left a terrible taste in our mouths with kindergarten-level writing, disguised behind many explosions, terrible CGIs, Joes in metal Iron Man suits. Now, the plot consisted of metal-eating nanobots. So just think about this for a minute. Joe's wearing metal suits with nanobots that eat metal. Okay? Just think of this for a minute. Outside of that, they expect you to already know and have a knowledge about the G.I. Joe universe by introducing character after character and giving you no background whatsoever. I mean, not that it matters, because they venture so far away from the source material that this barely qualifies as a G.I. Joe movie anyways.
What I'm hearing, Matt, out of this whole thing that you just spewed, this pile of shit basically coming out of this mouth of yours here.
Oh, I got more.
Oh, I know you got more. But I just find it interesting that, it's the same concept as what DC did a long time ago with the Justice League, when they were like, oh, let's just introduce characters that people should know. Granted, again, if you're a nerd and you know these characters either from like TV shows or the comic books or whatever the fuck you would have read it from or heard it from, you would know these characters, right? Or you would have at least seen them. But the fact that I hate when and it's not just, them, it is a lot of others, that they just assume that these characters off the head, and they don't give you a backstory. Like,
they assume a 7-year-old kid's gonna know who Ripcord and all these other characters are.
Bro, like you're not gonna know that shit.
You give no background information on who these characters are, like what they do, like who they are, and then we're just supposed to know them. But like I said, it doesn't even matter, because these characters are so far away from who they are as far as the cartoons. Baroness wasn't even Baroness from the cartoon. She was Cobra Commander's sister.
Right, which she had no relation to fucking Cobra Commander in the show.
Cobra Commander wasn't even Cobra Commander, because his name was fucking Rex.
So I love how they gave him a fucking name, which had nothing to do with the story.
And he served with Duke. If that blows your mind.
Again, man, I mean, granted, I know it's been a while since I've seen the first one, second one, whatever, but like, it's not even worth your time, guys. Like, literally, it has nothing to do with G.I. Joe.
So far away, and Snake Eyes history, okay, they establish it in the very first G.I. Joe movie, and then they go and make a Snake Eyes origin movie that gives him a whole completely different origin story.
I was like, so basically you're contradicting the entire story of what you just gave me.
And at the end of the movie, they link it back to G.I. Joe, Rise of Cobra.
And then you're like, what the fuck are you doing?
What are they doing? So, at one point in the movie, every character was a hologram talking to another hologram as they walk through different holograms.
You know,
it's like Inception.
Right, but
it sucks.
Another thing too that I was kind of looking at and just like saw this too, and this is a big thing too. You know, we talk about how Marvel, like with the time span, like if you have like a movie that's like, you know, like 4 years, it's a long time. The fact that the first movie came out in 2009, second one came out in 2013, and then they waited 8 years to come out with the Snake Eyes movie. Yeah. Who the fuck cares? Like, as in the timeline, because it's not like it's repeating.
Snake Eyes doesn't even match up with the Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe, which is nuts because it came out so much later. You would have thought like, hey, we have source material, let's follow it. No, let's do a whole new thing and fuck everything else.
No, but that's what I'm saying. So if you're literally creating another story at this point, you might as well just say it's a different universe,
right?
Or a reboot, or put it in a fucking shelf somewhere. You never think about it again, whatever. But you're right. Like, you know, you have these characters. They assume that you're supposed to know these characters already. The time frame of when these movies are made is a huge factor on why you think it's not as popular, because also there's only 3 movies compared to, you know, the Transformers movies, which is like 7 or 8 by the time, I think at least 7. Ooh, excuse me. But like, you know what I mean? Like there's a big difference. And even in the first Transformers movie, like you already know, like they've already established like, hey, I'm Optimus Prime. Hey, I'm Bumblebee. Like they explain the characters, and they actually, like Optimus Prime literally narrates a story for you. Like he literally says, hey, this is where we're from, and this is why we're here. And here's Megatron. He says it right in the beginning, so it's like, or at least when he first met.
Even though I think Transformers was a little bit more successful, I think they did on some level do the same thing with Transformers. Like they don't really explain who Jazz is. They don't really explain who.
No, I mean, is. No, but at least
you have an understanding of who the characters are because they're distinct and they're different because they're fucking robots.
Well, not even that, man. I think the problem is too is like, when you're looking at G.I. Joe, yes, there's a lot of different characters. Yes, it's all human based, whatever. Like, but there is no background. There's no like, you know, like an inside story. Like, I'm not saying that they didn't go into detail with Jazz and all the other characters. I'm not saying that, because you're right, they could have, and they've easily could have done something else, maybe like a prequel or something like, you know, beforehand or whatever. But they didn't. It's kind of like give or take. I mean, because they did give you at least a story to be like, hey, so this is where they're from. You know, this is who so-and-so is.
Yeah.
You know, and then, of course, later on, like, they made some prequels that
honestly,
helped.
They probably should have started there.
They really should have started with the prequels. Then they should have done that.
Yeah, and then doing that. But, you know, to carry on with G.I. Joe, it's not even over with that. With everything I just said, it's not even over with that. Because some of the most, like, ridiculous things is Snake Eyes. Okay? We all know who Snake Eyes is. If you don't know who Snake Eyes, then go back onto your rock and go hide there.
That's pretty harsh, man.
A ninja who can't talk, and they changed that too, by the way, apparently needed a mouth molded on his mask. Now, for the life of me, I'm trying to figure out why somebody would need to have a molded mouth when he can't talk or doesn't talk. The only thing I could think of, John, is why you would need a molded mouth on your mask is to put something inside of it.
I mean, like I already told you, Matt, with these characters, I mean, if you look at even the animated series, right? So we figured out that, yes, technically, because I did actually watch the, it was that animated shorts, like the other one that, you know, they tell you to watch first. Yeah, I understand why he was become Snake Eyes, whatever. I know he's white. Technically, he's a white guy that we find out much, much later. But like, yeah, I understand, like in the movie, the newer movie.
He's Asian.
Correct.
Right.
And so it's like,
but that doesn't explain why he has a molded mouth.
I understand that piece. I'm just saying more like, you know, even the, you know, again, the origins, like we're doing this like woke thing, but yes, the whole, you know, basically making a mouthpiece for your mouth.
He doesn't talk. And even if he did, it's a molded mouth.
For what? Is it like,
it doesn't move. It won't move. Even
so it's basically shut. So basically it's like cement. You're just,
it's like, because why the fuck not? I mean, we want to make him look more human, but it's
for what reason?
It's black mask with a mouth on it. It doesn't move.
That doesn't make sense.
You know, for a movie that had a budget of 170 million,
you would think that.
Why would you waste money by making bullshit like that? That's not necessary.
Again, and this is why I keep saying that, you know, we actually had a conversation outside too, is like, you know, when you start looking at these franchises that have done so well, right? And, you know, you're looking at how, you know, these basically, you know, companies that are like, hey, you know what, we're going to make, you know, a TV show. We're going to make a movie and we're going to, you know, try to, you know, make it as best we can. But wait, we know what's best instead of the fans really knowing, because again, we were looking at the comics. We were looking at, you know, let's say early on TV shows, or maybe there was early on movies or whatever the case is, you know, we had the knowledge beforehand, but you fuckers, the producers, the fucking writers, the goddamn executives, whatever you want to call yourselves. Oh, hey, we know everything. We know what's best for the fans. We know what is the best thing we can do for them. And then you go ahead and you fuck it all up. And then you look at this pile of basically trilogy shit, you know, that's basically from 2009 to 2021. You have one movie in fucking between, and nobody gives a fuck about when it comes out.
So my one question to finish this little roast piece thing off is, why, Hasbro, would you make a well-known franchise only to violate it like a girl on prom night?
Damn. Like, he just went there, guys. Like, my point is, Hasbro and maybe other, you know, companies we mentioned before, Disney, you know, get on the fucking boat, man. Like, get on the same fucking page. Start learning from this shit. You want to make fucking movies? You want to make sure that they're successful? Look at the fucking greatest movies of all time that have actually gotten to that point. I'm not, when I say Disney too, I mean, I understand you made some good shit. You know, you made Endgame and it's up there. And you made other movies that are right up there. Start looking at that shit again and realize what you need to do to make this shit actually a working machine, because holy fuck.
It's not really that hard. I mean, we're talking G.I. Joe. They're military people. It's really not hard to, it shouldn't, I mean, John, it shouldn't be that hard to translate like military characters into a show.
Hold on a second. So I realize, and I'm going to, because we're kind of going into Transformers a little bit here. You know, I'm looking at Lennox. Okay, he was originally a captain in, you know, the very first Transformers. He's then a full-bird colonel. You take that guy, or take like that team of everybody. Okay, granted, I know they later on change and do whatever. That's a prime example. Like, you take somebody like that, you take that kind of group of people. I'm not saying they had to be G.I. fucking Joes in that moment and helping out, but like, you take that same take those guys, take that same fucking concept, and you put them into the goddamn G.I. Joe world, and you maybe give them a little like cool fancy toys here and there. Holy fuck, you got yourself a G.I. Joe series, and you can actually make it worth your time.
And for God's sakes, leave fucking Channing Tatum out of this. Can we please?
You really, I know. Well, hold on.
Please?
Just so I'm clear, though, in the very first even Rise of Cobra, who else was in there, too, that I can think of? It was one of the Wayans brothers, if I'm not mistaken, was in there, too.
Yeah, and he was fucking goofy and dumb as shit.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Which apparently Ripcord, who is a paratrooper, can fly jets.
I already told you the logic behind G.I. Joe, but yeah.
There's no logic behind it. I mean, I mentioned the CGI was terrible, but if you watch the actual movie, it looks... If you people have a Sega Genesis, which I know probably nobody does, but go on YouTube and look up videos of people playing Sega Genesis, and then go watch G.I. Joe, and there will be no difference. I can tell you that because that's how the graphics looked in G.I. Joe. It looked like a Sega Genesis. And the funniest moment, and I literally giggled out loud, and my wife was like, what is so funny? Towards the end of the movie, Destro finally gets that silver mask that he wears in the cartoon, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is so goofy and terrible. It's pixelated and all like weird polygonal shaped. It's so goofy looking. Like, it's not even finished. And you can't even make it like an excuse of like, well, maybe they intended to make it look that way.
Well, not even, I mean, Matt, think about when, you know, we were just talking about CGI from, let's say, the early 90s until this, let's say 2009, 2010 era. You can't tell me that CGI it's come a long way from that time to this time. You can't tell me that you couldn't have fixed anything about that. in any way, shape, or form, whether it was CGI or a fucking simple practical effect or something like that.
I'm just saying, if you're looking at the final product and you're looking at Destro, and I'm like a producer looking at this guy's face, I would have said, you need to give this guy a mask or something better than what you're showing the audience right now, because
this is some bullshit is what it is.
you either ran out of budget for that CGI for his head,
That's probably what happened.
or your graphic artist suck ass, because this is not finished. It looks like they got 10-year-olds to do their CGI work on this guy's face. Like, it's so terrible.
Man, this is why I keep saying, like, you know, you have a, let's say, like you said, I don't know if it was like 170 million, whatever. So think about it like this, okay? That's still a lot of fucking money. That's almost at least, we'll say close to $250 million, okay, in almost a movie budget.
Yeah.
But still a good amount. So you can't fucking tell me you can't take 2 seconds or whatever fucking time you need to do to either fix his fucking face, fix all the goddamn CGI that's in the damn movie.
My hypothesis on this is that they spent most of the CGI budget on the stupid nanobots. That's my thought.
And then, but like you said, the story concept of how if they're wearing goddamn metal suits and these things are eating metal in general,
right?
And it's like,
I mean, on top of it, they're fucking GI Joes. Do they need metal suits? Realistically?
I mean, shit, you're looking like Power Rangers at this point. Like, because that's exactly what you'd be doing.
I don't remember them ever wearing metal, like, power suits in the cartoon.
No, actually, it's funny. They were just regular fucking people that weren't wearing shit. The only thing that they did, what was so special about them, man? Each one of them had a specific function, or they had a job that they knew how to do so well, and they still figured it out.
Right.
And what the fuck are you doing with these goddamn metal suits and shit? Like, what is going on?
Not to mention that by the time Retaliation came out, they killed Duke.
Right. And then, wait.
And the rest of, like, pretty much the rest of the Joes, and we're left with The Rock.
The Rock. Who is? I forgot who does he play? Is it like because he's supposed to be the guy? Well, in the animated show, I'll say it. He's the only black dude in the fucking animated show that I know of.
I don't remember the character's name.
I think it's like oh damn it! It's like Barricade or I don't know, something stupid.
Well, Heavy Duty was the one. Was in the first
duty?
One?
Was that?
I believe.
Oh, I don't know. Anyways,
but he was like his cousin or something.
Again, so the fact that we're talking about, we don't even know the character's name at this point.
Roadblock, I believe.
Okay, Roadblock. Okay, so the fact that Roadblock is now, let's say, leader of the Joes, in a sense, where really, I'm not saying that Roadblock couldn't be, but it's like it wouldn't make any sense in a way because you'd have to look at like again leadership.
Still,
and command.
You kill Duke. There's no Hawk because Hawk's probably dead too.
Well, was Hawk in the...
You kill Ripcord. I mean, you basically, like, in the beginning of Retaliation, they killed every other Joe except for 3.
Which is Roadblock, clearly. And I don't know who the other 2 are off the top of my head, but...
And that's all there is. There's 3 of them.
Well, so again, that's
you do have Lady J, so I guess that there's one thing there.
Okay, what about Scarlet, or the redhead? Like,
dead.
She's dead too?
Uh-huh.
So this is my point, guys. So why would you take one fucking movie, you basically build up the story, and then like the second movie, you're just like, fuck it, we're gonna kill every motherfucker we can. It's kind of like, you remember it's gonna sound really stupid, but like the new Suicide Squad, not the old, right? So in the new Suicide Squad, what they did was they took some of the old characters that they did, and then in the first I think it was like 20 minutes of the film, they killed off the fucking fuckers, and then they're like, oh hey, look, we got a new team, and it's like, what's the Polka Dot Man? What the fuck is Polka Dot Man going to do?
And a giant starfish.
Okay, well, that's different. I already told you that was a real thing. But
I understand it's a real thing, but it's stupid. And
look, I know we're not going into that, but I'm just saying, guys, like, why would you fucking kill the main fucking people that you originally had? And then you're like, fuck it, we're just going to, we're going to make a new team. Because that's basically what they just did. They were like, hey, you know what? We're going to build these stories or these characters up in the first one, kill them all off in the second one, and then we're going to leave you with 3 fucking people that you may or may not know. Just because we feel like it.
And again, you're expecting to know who Flint and Lady J and Roadblock, you're expecting to know who all these people are, and they don't give you anything on these characters.
Right. Unless, again, you watched either the animated show or even like some of the other series that came out later on, like, you know, some of the stupid
so crazy
shit. But yeah.
So did they do anything good, John? I do have a small list.
Oh, please tell me what this small list is. I would love to hear it.
I do have and it's
we just gave a lot of shit to them.
It's a very, very small list.
Is it like one thing or is it like two?
I do feel like with Scarlet, they did.
Oh, I'm sorry. One character. Gotcha.
An okay job with. Like I do like how they actually did give her the crossbow and they did make her.
Okay, so they made one fucking character accurate. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear.
Semi-accurate. I mean, it's
semi-accurate. Okay.
And surprisingly, Destro was his background. Even though his background and everything was fairly accurate.
Oh, yep.
The accent was way over the top. Like the actor, like just. I think he just took that like Scottish or whatever that like accent is, and he just like went way up. Like,
well, okay,
he just took it on a whole different level.
I was gonna say this. I mean, I'm not saying you have to literally sound like the animated show. I'm not saying you have to be like, you know, like. Well, hold on. Go ahead, Matt. I'll let you rendition the whole Destro thing.
Well, I mean, Destro in the cartoon didn't have any.
No, he didn't have any. It was like very like, hey. Cobra Commander. Cobra Commander. You know, and he's very deep, right? So I'm not saying he has to have like a.
I'm not going to do that, Cobra Commander.
You know, and I mean, granted, if you hear Cobra Commander, you're not like Cobra. Are you like what was it? Stop whining, Destro. You know, it's like that whiny, pitchy. You know, I'm not saying you have to act like that, but if you can get even remotely kind of like a deeper voice or somebody who can do that.
This guy had like a very thick. Like,
yeah, so he's like
a very thick, like,
how you doing? Like, you know,
yeah, it was a very like thick, like European accent, and it was way over the top. But so, other than that, like they had the background information, and they did a better job like showing his background because it was vital to the plot and what he did.
I mean, great, I get that, but okay, so we talked about. Is there anything else, or is it just those two characters?
Granted, with Destro,
okay, go ahead.
The whole reason his character wore the mask was because of his family's clan.
Okay.
And what they show in the movie is like how his clan got caught selling weapons to other tribes, and they put this guy in an iron mask. And Destro, the reason he has that silver face is because he wears a mask out of respect to his clan and his family.
But do people know besides, I would say,
you
Cobra?
wouldn't know that, and you wouldn't know that information. And well, I don't know if Cobra knows, but that's the character biography of Destro.
Okay, so but again, Joes don't really know that.
I don't think the Joes know that. No, but
okay. So the story they give you that background. That's fine and dandy. I get that piece.
But he's just a normal dude in the movie. He's not wearing a mask or anything. He just has the mask like in his office, like as a showpiece.
So, okay. So this is my point. So we mentioned two characters, and basically nothing else about the damn series is like worthy or deemable.
I mean, I did kind of like Storm Shadow, but I mean, that's
sorry, Storm Shadow.
That's neither here nor there.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is maybe some characters, iffy, but like everything else was a pile of shit. That's what I'm hearing.
Storm Shadow is a character. I mean, like I said, they still fucked up greatly on the background because Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, again, were in the same two movies. Well, they were in all three, but Storm Shadow, his character was in the Snake Eyes origin movie, of course.
As it should be.
But they gave them two different origins between G.I. Joe and Snake Eyes. So, I mean, they still fucked up on both of those. So...
No, I'm just saying. So it's basically all I'm hearing is like I said, the iffy on character or certain characters were like meh,
I think what they did with him as a character was great, even though you have to kind of look at the whole picture, I guess.
But I guess the story, the CGI effects, the backgrounds, all this other shit, basically a big pile of shit that they were like, here you go, we're gonna make some money off this.
Now, Retaliation, at least they fixed Snake Eyes' mask so that it doesn't have a mouth.
Oh, great.
At least they did that. And
that's great.
Cobra Commander doesn't have some clear, serial killer mask. They actually gave it more like the show or the comics.
So basically, they fucked up royally on the first one. The second one, they were like, oh, well, we're going to kill off basically almost every character of G.I. Joe, but we're going to at least try to fix some of the things that we couldn't fix in the first movie.
Right. So Cobra Commander actually has more of like the full head mask with the silver front, which is what we're used to in the cartoons.
But like I said, man, all I'm hearing is
there's not really a whole lot of good. It's all bad. And like I said, why would you remake a well-known and well-respected franchise like G.I. Joe just to violate it?
I mean,
like you did, because it's not good.
So I guess my question to you is how do you think Hasbro could do a better job, with translating the, comic book or even the, again, the animated show into a live action? What do you think? How do you think they could really, really take this to another level?
Well, I think you have to. It's not so much about doing like origin stories like they did with Snake Eyes. I think you have to not just introduce, 10 or 15 G.I. Joes and 10 or 15, Cobra people. I think you have to establish the characters and you have to establish like the story and the plot. Like what they tried to do was make this really over the top action filled movie without really spending a whole lot of time developing the characters enough. There's this idea, and I was actually just looking this up for, one of our blog posts, and with storytelling and theater, and even with like novels that you read, there's this theory. It's a really old theory, but there's this theory called suspension of belief. Okay. And what that is basically with a storyteller, their job is to write a story with characters, environments, a plot that is going to suspend your belief in what in believing what you're reading or seeing. Like example, Star Wars, right?
Yep.
We know that lightsabers can exist, but yet when we watch Star Wars and we watch people fighting with lightsabers, we believe it. Why? Because we're seeing them light up, we're seeing them fight, like we're seeing how realistic it looks, and we're suspending that belief that they're not real.
Yeah, but I mean, now I think with technology that we've come out with, yes, there are people that are now, let's say building. I mean, not exactly close. They're not exactly close, but they're at least trying to get the design and like they're working.
I'll give you another example. Harry Potter.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Fine. You got me there. Like
we know that kind of magic does not exist.
Well, not that we know of. Wink, wink. I'm just saying.
Not in the real world, anyways. But when we watch Harry Potter, we fully believe it, and that's because of the story. It's because of the characters. It's the environment. It's the whole picture.
I think the biggest problem, and I think this is just really with any movie, because this whole theory that you mentioned, I mean, it is basically a prime basic kind of function of a movie. Like, you're basically telling a story and you're trying to establish the characters and you're trying to say, hey, now, here are the characters, here's what's going on, here's the plot, here's the conflicts, here's the enemy, here's this, you're establishing the whole thing. And so like when you're like, it's an origin story. This is literally what it is. When it says Rise of Cobra. Okay, there you go. There's the origin story. So you're trying to like, in this case, so this is where it's tough, where, you start looking at, 10, 15 people on each side, whether it's Cobra or G.I. Joe. There's a lot of things that you got to now have to kind of incorporate into their stories and then kind of make sure it flows together, where really what they should have done is focus on maybe a few characters, and then, they can add in some of the other characters and then maybe, in time kind of show their, their backstory a little bit, so that at least you kind of know like, hey, this is Duke, this is Hawk, this is whoever, and you already know who these people are.
Yeah, well, I think some of the problem with G.I. Joe is like the environment wasn't quite clear, right? Like, you can kind of get like, they're Joes, they're fighting, they're fighting Cobra. We kind of sort of don't get it, but it's confusing. we don't really know who the characters are. And if you were a long-term G.I. Joe fan, you're still confused because you don't know who the characters are because they're not who they apparently appear they are. So
yeah,
the whole suspension of belief thing with these G.I. Joe movies, for example, you get Snake Eyes, and then all of a sudden Snake Eyes in 2021 comes out, and the whole suspension of belief is broken because now the origin story doesn't match the origin story that's already in your mind. So when you go back and watch G.I. Joe, it's not believable anymore.
The problem is that when you're looking at, because a big part of it too, because if you're trying to get it on a live action screen, we're talking about a TV show that came out in the early 80s to now translate it into a modern day time frame. I'm not saying it, like, for example, Shipwreck, right? Unless you want him to basically wear a fucking sailor's uniform with a fucking, I'm going to say it, the correct term is called a cunt cap. Okay, I know it's not the right way, but that's what it's actually called. Oh my God, I said a word. But the hat that he's wearing that's what it's called. And
I'm not saying
no. I'm just saying, like, no, I'm not right. And you're not wearing like a fucking basically polo and like basically it's like a tank top, but like a whatever. But like, I'm just saying, like, you can get as close as you can to that, but you don't have to make it, so original that it has to be close to that. I don't know. Well, what all I'm trying to say is that you can try to get it as close as you can, but at least make it so that way, for example, like, with Snake Eyes, with Timber, right? So like, if you know that some of them had like pets, sure, bring in a fucking wolf, or bring in, like in this case, Shipwreck, he's got that fucking parrot. Bring in a fucking parrot, man. Like, make it believable.
I think if you were going to do it in today's, society, like today's modern day, like you have to bring it into like realistic military stylings. Like you have to make it like 100% like their military, like you introduce Duke just like you would do in any other movie. Like you have to introduce Duke or Hawk, whichever one you're going to introduce.
Yep.
But you have to like follow them in a battle or something, like where they're in there and they're pulling them out and say, hey, we have this, specialized group that we're starting and we want you to be part of it.
Yeah. And be like, okay, hey, Roadblock. Okay, we want to bring you in. Shipwreck.
We have a list of other people that we would like you to try to recruit. And then we have these other maybe, and that's where we you get those background character stories where it's like a real quick thing. Like we know Heavy Duty is a heavy weapons guy. We know that, these guys do certain things in the military, but it's 100% like military regime. Like,
yeah,
they do what they do.
I was going to say this just as a throwing out there. So if they made Rise of the Beast, okay, and this is where they were trying to like do a crossover event, like in that realm. Now, if you're doing it based in the 90s, because that's when that movie came out. Well, sorry, let's try this again. When the setting of the movie came out, like that's what it was. It was the 90s, and of course it came out just a little bit ago. What I'm saying is if you wanted to do a crossover kind of platform, you could start with them in the 90s and say, hey, we're doing this, and then, bring in these certain characters, you can do whatever. And then if like later on you say, hey, we're going to make it more modern day, and we say, hey, you wanted to introduce new characters or whatever. Like, so there's ways you could probably introduce it so you could still keep kind of the old feeling, and then you can say, hey, once you establish like the universe and the franchise, then you can say, hey, we're going to, like, if we decide, hey, we're going to do like a legacy or whatever, then you can bring in totally new characters, bring them in, and then they could still be a part of the G.I. Joe, franchise, series, whatever. So like I just feel like that's the only way, like for them, if they're going to do it, like they do it in the 90s, do it like something like that, and then really kind of move up to modern day.
I really don't have faith Hasbro could do a G.I. Joe movie.
I mean, as of right now,
and do it any justice unless they make it like, you have to develop the characters first before you start making it as fantastic as G.I. Joe is. Like you can't start introducing, all of the flying vehicles and the weaponry and all of like the gadgets and all of the stuff that they use.
That is why I'm saying if they did it in the 90s, I think that it would help both the series to kind of establish. And then, like you said, don't introduce that until much later, once it's more, let's say, modern day. And then you can start throwing in the fucking flying vehicles, the goddamn weapons that are shooting lasers off of everyone's ass. I don't know. Making it that way if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I agree. Like, in order to get anything going, you're right. You need to have that concept of characters. These are the ones we want, and then these are the ones that we might introduce later on. And kind of say, hey, we recruited more people. So, like, again, G.I. Joe didn't start out with like 1,500 people, in the damn show. Like, it started out with a core select people, and then they started bringing in more characters. You know what I mean? So, like, that's the same thing that they could do. They could bring in a few at first, and then start, getting more and be like, hey, we're going to bring in, hey, look, we got a new guy, Snake Eyes, as a joke or something like that, or throw somebody else in like Flint or what's his name? Wins, the Native American. I can't remember the guy's name, but Spirit. There you go. Like, bring him in, or, like, bring other people in down the road. That's just me.
Like I said, I really don't have faith that they could probably do it.
Matt, you know what we should do? I keep telling you this. I think we should just go figure out where Hasbro's headquarters is at, and just be like, hey, we want a meeting with them. We need to talk to you about the G.I. Joe series and everything else you're doing, because you fucking suck, you pieces of shit. Like, you need to get out. Let me just tell you what you need to do. Okay, so stop listening to your fucking assholes, and this is the guideline. Here's the blueprint. Here you go. I just gave it to you.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
I don't get it. They just Hollywood everything nowadays. I don't get it. But
and I'm like, I just want to smack them. Anyways,
right. So Transformers,
robots in disguise. More than meets the eye.
There looks like 7 movies.
Is it?
It looks like 7.
4, 5, 6.
I don't math
That's
well.
7. Yeah, no, that's 7.
It looks like 7.
That's 7. Yeah.
Transformers: Rise of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon were Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, but it's fine.
LaBeouf. I like LaBeouf.
I like LaBeouf.
I like LaBeouf.
I like a LaBeouf. You fucking weirdo. Anyways.
Age of Extinction and The Last Night were Mark Wahlberg.
Yes. And then, with Bumblebee.
And Rise of the Beast were casted with different people. Basically.
Yeah. So this is where because I just rewatched it the last couple days, and I didn't need to watch Rise of the Beast because I've just watched it a little bit ago. I kind of already have an idea. Was watching all of them again and kind of figuring out what's good things, bad things, whatever. So with the first 3, Transformers, Rise of the Fallen, and then Dark of the Moon,
which was 07, 09, and 2011.
Right. Notice the difference in time frame, because that's a 4-year gap, and there's still 3 movies in between. So that's pretty good, in my opinion. Or actually, no. Yeah, no, that's 4. Never mind. I was just mathing wrong.
Transformers were highly successful, and I think, like I said, it's different from G.I. Joe because, they're obviously different because they're transforming robots. It's...
Well, right, and the thing is
instantly more interesting.
Well, it was going to say is the CGI and in that piece of it, you can do more with that, and then with the actual, again, you knew the characters because of, let's say for example Bumblebee, right? He's typically, he's usually a sports car, but in the movies he was a '69, I think it was a Chevy Corvette, or no, a Camaro. Sorry, he was a Camaro, and then he whatever. So I know before he was also a Volkswagen in Bumblebee. Something like that. But then Optimus Prime, he's literally a trucker or a freight 18-wheeler, whatever. So the iconic look of each one of these characters, so you understand okay, this is who it is. And Starscream, Starscream just it looks like a short fucking pass. He's just a short stubby robot, but even granted he's a fucking F8 or F18, F16, whatever the fuck he is, but and then you see Megatron. Wait, he's not a fucking Walther P-38. Wow, he's an actual fucking plane or some shit. That's crazy, right? I was throwing it out there to see whoever watched it, but
I think it's Universal. I want to say it's at Universal, but they have kind of a life-size version that just you take pictures with them.
Oh yeah. That is Universal.
I've seen videos of it.
That's funny shit.
Oh yeah, he roasts people and it's hilarious.
And yeah, no, I honestly, I really just want to go there just for that shit. I would, Matt, that's the thing we're going to do. Okay. At some point, we're going to go down to Universal together. We're going to go down there and just talk to fucking Megatron, baby. As long as you're there, we're going to get fucking roasted. I love it.
We're going to talk to him 100% about Optimus Prime.
I was let's talk to him
and see what he says.
He's fuck. It was wait, do you want to? oh, I know where Optimus Prime is. He's like, where's that son of a bitch? You're like, he's actually up your asshole. Do you want to find him to your left?
I heard you got on your knees for Optimus Prime.
Just like that. Be like, hey, I heard you like sucking dick. No, I'm kidding.
I heard you like that metal dick.
Metal dick. No, anyways, all right, we're going a little too far with that. Anyways, looking at the movies though, like the first three, yes, with Shia LaBeouf, I know some people can disagree, whatever. I remember watching it and kind of like getting into the moments, and you're like, yeah, this is great. You're learning about how, basically, Transformers is kind of like, or really, let me rephrase this, how the Autobots and Decepticons were basically here on Earth. Nobody fucking knew for, in this case, centuries. Because, I mean, each movie, later on, you'll find out that, it's like, oh, the dinosaurs, guess what? It was actually, part of Cybertron, throwing off a fucking seed and basically just metal or liquefied metal everything. And basically that's how the Big Bang Theory comes into play, right? Or like, The Last Night, basically King Arthur, like, so it kind of just throws off a little bit of the timeline of really how long they've been here, really with the first movie. But like they said, hey, Cybertron's basically non-existent, and we're here now, and we're trying to stop basically Megatron and the Decepticons and whatnot. So, Sam Witwicky. So this is the part where I didn't realize before until Matt mentioned it was, yes, in the actual TV show, yes, there is a Witwicky family. No relation to, I believe, Sam in a sense.
No.
But, it's interesting because like, when you're actually watching some of the other ones, so like when you watch The Last Night, the fucking clan, it's called Witwicken. And so, of course, you see Sam as one of the other like members of the damn clan at the end, with his stupid fucking hair that he has at one of the beginning movies. But like, you notice how, in each one of those movies, they, it kind of plays off each other a little bit. Like, I mean, you may not see it now, but like you'll see it later on. But like, first couple movies, yes, you had now granted, I know back in the day, Megan Fox was something, but yeah, nowadays I don't even want to talk about Megan Fox. Megan Fox back in the day, she was something. She was that girl,
I do have to say, I mean, when you have that scene where she's like looking under the hood.
Oh yeah. We all know that scene.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I remember that scene, and you look at that
much later on in the in the second and third movie, you're like now she's getting kind of just annoying.
No, I mean in the first one it was nice and innocent. It was fun. It was great. So the thing is that I know that after the second movie. Well, I also heard that Michael Bay is kind of an asshole when it comes to this. I don't know. This is what Megan Fox was saying at some point, but she basically quit. She went on to do, what was it, Matt? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Michael Bay. So she even said she didn't want to be known as the Transformers girl. She even said that in one of the interviews, but she then was like, hey, you know what? I want to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
You want to do an even shittier movie. Okay.
Cool. But with the same director who did the other. I'm like, so what the fuck? I was like, anyways. So you look at the first two, they did it together. And then like the third movie, all of a sudden you just randomly see Sam with this other girl. And it's like, I mean, it
was a Transformer, by the way, I think, right?
No. That was in the second one, but no, it was that robot that was like trying to seduce him in the bed. But the third one, no, it was like she
was working for the guy that was influenced by the
Decepticons. Yes. I think his real name is Patrick Dempsey, right? The guy who plays in. So like, but anyways, but like she, they did a really good job on like, kind of throwing her in there, but then like kind of describing why she's there. Or how did she become really the new Megan Fox? So it was slick of them to do that. So, because most of the time they just be like, oh, hey, it's me, the same fucking person as before. And they're like, no. Because they even said like the two robots, the little ones that were like, the kind of smart ass ones that were hanging out with him all the time. He's like, yeah, you got fucking dumped, huh? Like they give him shit for it. But it's like, it literally was like, that's perfect because it just kind of, makes the whole story make sense. But anyways, looking at the first two, I think, story-wise and everything else, like it flowed. I think it did a good job on how they were trying to get there and, trying to get rid of Megatron, Megatron.
I can tell you one thing. The one thing that I didn't quite like about those movies were Sam's parents.
Oh no, don't get me wrong. I think at first the mother was, oh my God, the mother drove me fucking bonkers. Not even the dad. The mom was the one that got it for me.
I mean, the mother was more terrible
And annoying.
than the father was, but together, it was awful. I mean, they just did so much like stupid shit and said stupid shit like.
Oh, I love how it was like, oh, is it Sam's happy time? Like, you know.
Yeah, it just.
I was like, come on, well, why are we doing this right now?
It's in all three of those movies where when they're they show up at like his college it's just
oh, you're getting a job now, like after going to college for many years. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
And they're his mother's like drunk or whatever, and it's just like, come on, like, can we just have like a movie where these two aren't like there or in it? Because these two are like,
I think
they ruined the movie for me.
I think this is just me. If they were only there really throughout the first one, and then maybe a part of the very beginning of the first or the second movie, that would have been fine. The third fucking movie, leave him the fuck alone. He's a goddamn grown adult. Yes, he doesn't have a job. He's still growing up. Who's going to have a job at that point after graduating college? I'm just saying, leave them alone. But I agree, because in high school, sure, your parents are going to be there. You can't do anything about it, whatever. By the time he goes to college, okay, see ya, bye-bye, and then he does his own thing.
I think it was just all of the stupid, not really appropriate, of course, yeah, you say it, you say something once, like, that's funny. But then they keep saying like shit over and over, and like it's the same joke but different comments, and you're like, okay, we get it. Like, you're just saying nonsensical stuff just to be funny. Like, we get it. Like, we get what your character is, but you don't need to keep going back to this. Like, we get this.
No, I agree, and I think that they could have left it alone. They could have just said, hey, we're done, and then moved on, because it was just like they're just side character pieces. Like, they're not even really part of the main story.
Yeah,
they never really were.
One of my other issues is like right in the first film, they immediately killed Jazz.
Okay, I understand that. Yes, technically right, because we don't see Jazz again until really the Rise of the Beast to kind of like explain really where he's at and all this stuff. I get it, even with the story of in the animated series and whatnot. I get that whole piece. But at the same time, too, you got to think about like how, I'm not saying they have to kill off everybody or maybe certain characters or whatever, but I knew in that moment they had to at least, unfortunately, kill somebody to kind of get a story driven in some ways. That's the only thing. I'm not saying it had to be Jazz. It could have been anybody the fuck else, but it had to be somebody. I mean, could they have chose somebody else? Absolutely.
I would have preferred somebody else over Jazz, but I mean,
no. I agree, because I think he was also a very imperative piece of that, including Bumblebee and everybody else. But like, I'm just saying that yes, they could have chose like maybe a really minor character and said, okay, well, this El Stupido, fucking yeah, he dead, whatever. Okay, yeah, we're gonna revenge and do whatever, right? But like, I mean, granted, now you look at the other movies down the road. It's like Ratchet, for example, like the medical officer, right? Technically, they stripped him apart and they fucking ripped his ass apart, and they were like, oh, okay, we're going on his ass and we're going to, basically get revenge for him and everybody else that basically died because of that whole thing. But I'm just saying, like, I mean, in that moment, they should have maybe chose somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, the only ones from really the other movies, Hot Rod was in The Last Night. I mean, that's really the only one that I personally recognize.
Yeah. I mean, because it's hard, because like then you start looking at some of the other ones from like Last Night and Age of Extinction. Like those two, they had, because a lot of them either died or, you had, who was it? Was it Commando? No, Hound. You had Hound, who I realized that, well, I mean, I know the voice because that's John Goodman.
Right.
And then you had the fucking samurai. Yeah, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
I don't remember his name.
The other one who was a smart ass who was like, hey, I'll be the fucking leader if Optimus Prime's out here. Like fucking wants to be El Machismo over here and fucking wants to beat shit up. And you're like...
And you still have that little small, like RC
so,
car.
Well, yeah, you had... Oh, no, I think that's what their name was. It was RC... Oh, no. So that little RC car was the annoying little fuck that was with the Decepticons. And then he had his partner, Brains, I think. The other one with like the crazy hair, and he was like, hey man, how you doing? Like that weird whatever it was. But like, And then you had RC, which was it was like the twin. It was like motorcycles or something like that. It was like yeah. So you had a few people in there between, and then like the Decepticons, it was kind of like.
See, the Decepticons I don't have a problem with.
No, hold on. So they also did it random because there was also other people that I had no fucking idea. Yeah, especially later on.
At least with the first movie, like
Starscream.
You had Starscream, you had Megatron,
you had Shockwave, or is it Shockwave or Soundwave?
I believe it was Soundwave.
Soundwave, because he was the ALO, the robot. The Soundwave was that one. So that one, I think no, Soundwave was later. Or was he the satellite? I'm thinking of the satellite.
I think he was the satellite.
Was he the satellite?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Because he was the one that was able to like listen into the communications.
He's like,
and that's
Decepticon. Right.
That's what Soundwave was able to do in the cartoons.
And then you had, I don't remember who else, because like there was a couple of others.
Who was that police car?
I don't remember. Like I know who you is because he was in that for a long time and he never died. He was literally in it the entire time. I don't even know how he did.
I think he was even in like the newer ones with Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
And I don't know how he survived for this long, at least. I don't remember his, but that's the thing. Like you don't remember him. And there's like, I know there's a couple others. And then like, of course, Megatron becomes Galvatron, and he becomes him. But then.
Well, he does in the cartoons too. So.
I know. But the thing is, like, he looks at, who was it? There was like all these like rando Decepticons. He was like, okay, let me get. Because it was that lawyer deal that they were trying to get.
Right.
Like all those ones, I highly doubt were in the original fucking TV show. You know what I'm saying? Like
there are so many, and that's the problem. Because like with the Transformers, even if you go back and look up all. I mean, we just did an episode on the animated show. There's so many different animated shows that there probably are so many other different characters and Transformers that
It's tough, man. I mean, that's the thing. It's like when you start looking at the lore and the history and everything else, and then they actually take the time to write all the damn, backstories behind everybody. It's hard because, again, with G.I. Joe, you're going to have more because it's actual people. Sure, fine, whatever. Cybertron and like the Transformers and stuff. Not like you can't have a backstory, but you already know the backstory. The whole planet's fucking destroyed, and now it's either one or the other.
But yeah, I mean. I think obviously for me, there's a lot more human story than there were Transformer story, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. And that's a CGI issue, honestly. But with the CGI, I felt at least with the first three, maybe a little bit with the Mark Wahlberg, a couple of them. I personally felt like the Transformers themselves were very complicated. In the way that they transformed.
So this is why when I rewatched it, I understood what you meant by that because this is also, I'm going to blame the director because we all know that Michael Bay in his fucking slow motion, very explosive action scene, because I will mention one thing in a second, but like when you see him and they're like, it's like the slow motion fucking, I'm going to change in the middle of the fucking air, and they do that, but like you look at Rise of the Beast, what we mentioned, and it's very like fluid, and there's no like stopping. There is no.
Oh yeah, and Rise of the Beast is great.
Right.
For that.
You know why? Because there's no Michael Bay, directing the movie. But what I found interesting, I think it was Age of Extinction, and this is where I don't understand. This is how I knew that Michael Bay did a lot of fucking explosion scenes, and this is why. I believe. Oh, that's what it was. It was Age of Extinction. It was the guy. It wasn't Megatron. It was the other guy that was hunting Optimus Prime. I think it was like Lockout or Loadout, or it was like Lockdown, something like that. But he threw a fucking grenade. Okay, he throws one grenade, and all of a sudden you just see, and it basically was Cade's assistant, the white dude with the blood, always like a server dude. Literally, I just remember that, and he threw the grenade, and all you see is this. I kid you not, it almost looks like an explosion setup. It's basically it goes boom, 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 boom. It's like a line. And I'm like, how does one fucking grenade blow up and goes boom, 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 boom? And it just keeps going. And then I'm like, stop, Michael Bay. Like, bro, clearly there's no way that one fucking grenade just goes boom, 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 boom. And it doesn't make sense.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know. And apparently that's how a grenade blows up. But
yeah, I mean, it's certainly cool. Like when you first see Optimus Prime, transform and you get that you know, it's in slow motion.
Well,
And you know, it is cool to like see every single like little gear and mechanism move when he transforms, but at the same time, it just looks so busy. And then when they're fighting, half the time, like you can't even tell which one is which because they blend like together.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest problem for me.
I can see why you're saying that. And what I also find interesting is every time, and this is what I've noticed, and I think you can agree with me, every time that one of the characters runs, the fight always seems to go right with them. It's like literally, if they are running, they can't be by themselves. No, Transformers have to be fighting as they're running to wherever the fuck they need to go. I've seen it so many times in these movies now that literally I'm just like noticing, it's like, okay, I got to run. Oh no, hold on. Optimus, maybe Bumblebee or whoever is fighting fucking Megatron or whatever the fuck they're fighting. And all of a sudden you're just seeing them rolling and like punching the shit out of each other, doing all this other crap, you know, and they're right next. And like the fact that the person who's running hasn't been already stomped on or at least like smushed to death because of the fact that they're running. It's like, I'm like, dude, can they just run without having to be basically right in the middle of a fight? Like, leave it alone, man. But they do that.
And we're led to believe that they can somehow transform into whatever or half transform with somebody sitting inside the vehicle.
Well, then, but it's funny though. Hold on, you mentioned that they do that, and then all of a sudden, what they do is they throw them out. They just go swack, and they're just like, all right, hopefully you land safely.
Actually, I think in Rise of the Beast, Mirage does this where he transforms, like he kind of does like he peels out and kind of like turns to the side. As he's doing that, the door swings open, the guy gets out, and then as he steps onto the ground, Mirage transforms like right as he steps onto the ground, and it's like, wait, humans can't do that. I'm sorry. Like,
No. But that's
we can't just step out of a car that's moving as fast as he was moving, and then all of a sudden, like, you just transform right behind me. Like, that doesn't happen.
No, and that's the thing. Or like again, the only thing that really would make sense is that when they do transform, they throw them out the fucking door or the window, and they say "fuck you," and they're like, "All right, now I'm good to transform." Because it's true. Because I've noticed that, and I'm just like, dude, these guys they don't place. They just say "fuck you," like get out of my vehicle, get out of whatever I'm in. You know, but I agree. I think the CGI in the very first couple films and stuff, it's kind of a hit or miss. I mean, like you said, transforming, you know, it's not as fluid as like the later on kind of films and whatnot.
It got better.
I mean, yes, like I said, it definitely got better. I think even I think what's now going in kind of like in the good shit, like, you know, when you listen to Prime, right? So this is where, again, Peter Cullen being the voice of Prime and everything else. It's almost, it's literally, it's like he's narrating the whole fucking movie. Like that's what he should have been doing. It doesn't even matter if he fights. I could just listen to him narrate and he'd be fine.
And I mean, when I say it's epic, like when I mean, you can watch any of the movies where, I mean, he does all the movies, but when he's just narrating, like it still like gives me goosebumps just hearing the voice.
No, absolutely. And actually, I think it's funny because I think it was last night. Hound out of nowhere, or no, one of them says something, and he's like, I love it when he talks. It's like I don't think it was Hound. It was somebody else. But
I love it when he talks too.
And it was perfect. And then like Hound's like, I didn't even say goodbye to him. Like, you know, and he's just walking away. But it's just like, you know, but it's true because everyone's like, you know, they're like, we listen to Prime because he has that capability of talking to people and be like, hey, listen. Or I love his metaphors. I love when he's like, okay, when you look up in the stars, okay, just know that's going to be me and I'll be back one day, you know, or something stupid like that. And you're just like, damn, I guess I am going to go look at those stars and I'm going to make sure that I'm hoping I'll be standing right here when you do this. No, and it's just literally, I think it's like every movie right at the end, he's like, okay, I know that today, you know, what was it? It's like today, you know, we've had some great, you know, triumphs and some horrible defeats or I don't know, something stupid. And then he's like, all right, guys, you know, just remember, you know, it's like he's like almost giving you a lesson at the very end. It's almost like you're hearing your dad telling you like a proverb or some like, you know, Confucius say or whatever. I don't know what it is, but like it gives you this like kind of motivation to be like, okay, damn, you're right. You know what? Maybe that's what I need to be doing right now. And like kind of gives you a little of that motivation to be like, you know what? You're right, Optimus. That's right. Now, can you come here and like teach me that every day? Like, not just for one moment, I don't know. But I agree. Looking at that, looking at how, I think what they really did a good job with really Transformers in general was I understand that some of the story, some of the time it didn't always make sense, but like at least even some of the later films with like Mark Wahlberg and so forth, maybe I would say Bumblebee and like Rise of the Beast, like they technically don't really have anything to do with what the real, like that kind of trilogy or that really like 5 movies that they were doing. But at least they made the story, kind of like it just flew. It just flew it like all together.
It's on par. I mean, it's on par for the whole Transformers as a whole. Because I mean, none of the animated shows really fit into a continuity. And if you go back to the other episode that we did, they actually made a trilogy to explain the continuity because they made a whole continuity trilogy to try to tie in everything into one continuity, which if they want to do this for the movies, they're going to have to try to do the same thing, which is going to be kind of weird to do.
Well, I mean, like you said, the only thing that they can really do now, theoretically, is they could sure, if you want to make some more fucking prequels or whatever, you can try to do it as best you can. But then, I would be more curious about, sure, you want to throw in a prequel, fine. I'm actually more curious about the last night because, like, right at the end of that movie, you see Cybertron and the Earth. They're still together. They haven't. It's not like Cybertron left. I know that they're saying, "Oh, we're going to leave and we're going to go fix our world and stuff," but it's kind of hard to just like separate a whole planet from another basically non-existing planet. And they were like, "Okay, we're going to work together to make this." Kind of like. Like humans and Autobots and whatever, like robots in general, like we're going to make it a one singular world. I'd be more curious on how the fuck they're going to do that because you have a dying planet that now is basically just chilling on Earth like, hey, we're here. It's whatever. Like, can we move the planet? I don't know. Can we? I don't know. Can we? Is there a way to do this? I don't know.
Well, that's pretty much what Rise of the Beast was, though. I mean...
Well, no. Rise of the Beast was well before all this shit ever happened.
But Rise of the Beast was... pretty much about Cybertron and the whatever the thing was that was in. What is the name of the thing that lives in the Earth that they were trying to explain?
God damn it, man! I love how you're asking me this question. I'd have to look it up. I can't remember. But it's not the staff that they're looking. It's not like it's something completely different. That's
no, but they were working on stopping that because what they were doing. What the Decepticons were doing was they were trying to basically drain the Earth of its resources to refuel Cybertron.
Right. But the fact that in the last night was more like, hey, we're just going to bring fucking Cybertron down here and then just fucking absorb all basically Earth's, fucking energy.
Right. And they were doing that in Rise of the Beast.
Right. Okay, great. But that was technically set in the 90s, so nobody really knew anything about this besides the very few amount of people.
I'm just telling you the plot of Rise of the Beast. They basically continued the last night in Rise of the Beast.
Which was basically set in the 90s. So that's why it's the only reason why I'm saying this. And like I said, there's no reason to rehash that. I'm just saying a more continuation down the road of last night.
I personally, like we've discussed this many times. I would personally like to see a movie where maybe there's not that many humans and it's Transformers and they do, start in Cybertron before the war.
Well, no, that's fine too.
Showing, how Megatron became bad and where this whole thing, started.
They kind of, right. They talked about a very brief, moment in the very couple, I think it's like the first film. But like, yes, I agree that.
Well, they talk about the war and they talk about Cybertron, but it'd be nice, like showing them
becoming the roles. Yes,
being friendly and serving, on Cybertron together, and then showing how that, how Optimus became Prime.
Well, technically,
Megatron souring into basically starting this war, and then.
Right. I mean, if you look at Age of Extinction, yes, that was kind of showing you. What was it? Optimus Prime's like, original mentor / in this case, traitor, because he's now trying to, get Cybertron to, basically rebuild Cybertron in Earth's image or whatever. But the thing is, though, is like, again, I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I could see the whole prequel thing. I just think they can go prequel. They could go, continuation of a little bit of the Last Night, or maybe, figure out whatever. I don't know. They could do it a lot of things. And they can also, again, do the crossover as long as they do it correctly. But they have to establish G.I. Joe first before they do that.
I just don't have a lot of faith in.
No, listen, I never said, look, they better.
My faith in movie making right now is very small.
Oh, listen, I agree with you. I understand. I'll throw in a fucking script in ChatGPT, and I guarantee you I'm going to get a better script than half the people who are actually writing this shit.
I mean, to be honest, I would also like to see more of the classic looks. Like actually having Soundwave look like a way he did, and have him be like a that boombox look with Laserbeak being the small cassette tapes. And
I mean, okay, listen, I am all set with fucking Megatron looking like a goddamn Walther P-38. Personally, that's just me.
Well, Megatron's already established, but
I'm just saying
you can have like you've already established Bumblebee as being like.
Yeah, he's like a Volkswagen or the
Rise of the Beast made him already look like that old style flat fronted.
Well, yeah, that was more Bumblebee. Yes, I mean it was really after that movie Bumblebee. It was like yes, he became that Chevy Camaro, that older like 69, 70 kind of look, and then yes, that's where he was at this entire time, and he's already done that. I get that. No, but and even if you really even look at Optimus Prime, it's like he was the same, basically, well, let me rephrase this. 18-wheeler wise, he had it was a little different, of course, in the animated show versus now, in a sense.
Well, Rise of the Beast, he had the flat front like he did.
Yeah, original series, you're right. And then he transformed later on into the newer version of what we see. I get that. I'm just saying, yes, there are some characters that can maybe could go back to that similar look. In a sense, and make it whatever. I mean, Starscream was basically the same fucking thing, no matter which way you looked at it.
Which is why I think they could do something different with Cybertron, because when all of these robots were on Cybertron, they weren't cars and planes and motorcycles. They were actually like Cybertronian vehicles.
Well, okay, you say that, but then I look at the Bumblebee movie in the very beginning.
Well, you're also talking about the movie, not the show.
You're right. I agree. I'm just saying. I'm looking at the movie from right now. But yes, even the show, I understand that, with the movie, yes, they were showing they didn't really transform into really nothing. I think the only thing that I saw that it was like the Decepticons basically going into what looked like an F-16 or, like a jet, basically.
Because that makes sense on Cybertron, a whole nother planet would have an F-16.
I'm just telling you what it looked like. Hey, I'm just throwing it out there. But it looked like that. It definitely didn't look fucking whatever the fuck they were going to have. But they looked like all the Decepticons could fly, but literally Bumblebee and everybody else was, they drove basically a car or whatever. But I'm like, how would you know what that looks like unless
it tracks?
Yeah, but anyways, it is what it is. I mean, this is just movies. We're not talking real life or anything, so it's all good.
Hey.
But anything else you want to mention, or do you think we did kind of like a good overall kind of view on both in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think we pretty much talked about everything we had.
Yeah, because I mean, guys, I will say that personally, Transformers, yes, is a better series to watch. Like if you have time, I would definitely watch it. I rewatched it. Even had fun with my wife watching it too, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we'll watch it." I was like, "Oh okay, cool." I was like, and I didn't even know that she watched some of it beforehand. But it's just a nice little series. I mean, it's can they do more with it? Absolutely. There's more that they can hopefully do down the road. I'm hoping that again, hope is the key word here. Just like Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. Well, it's not going to work in this situation, but I'm hoping that yes, maybe they could do something down the road with G.I. Joe and make it where it should be worthy it. But again. They need to establish fucking G.I. Joe and redo the whole goddamn concept, because if they think they're going to keep the same characters and keep the same storylines, you got another thing fucking coming, because then you're going to literally ruin your only fucking chance. Because once you start it, you better fucking make sure it's great, because if not, then you just threw it out the fucking window and said, okay, well, we're just done making movies now, because that's basically what I tell you to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, my faith in Hollywood making good movies right now is very, 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 very small.
I mean, think about it, Matt. I mean, from 2000 and on, basically literally since the new millennia, okay? Now, I'm not saying films haven't been around for a very, very long time because if you think about it, let's say films roughly, 120 years roughly? I don't know, maybe a little less than that. So like, early 1900s, I don't know when exactly, but, whenever they started making films and stuff, I mean, we're talking only so many years, okay? And we're talking some original ideas from early film days, and they've made some success, like even Gone with the Wind, whatever. I guarantee you, at some point, someone's going to remake Gone with the Wind because they said, fuck it, because we don't give a fuck. Because that's what they do. They don't have original ideas anymore, Matt. The problem is they look at an idea and they're like, oh, what they do back, that's a great idea for a movie. Let's do it now fucking days. And I'm like, you can have ideas, man.
They remade The Wonder Years with a whole black family. And it's like, what are you guys doing? You couldn't just leave the show alone.
No, but that's what I mean.
You had to remake this show. Like the show didn't need to be remade. I don't care if you did it with an Indian family. It still didn't need to be remade.
No, it's the problem. Like that's the thing. It's like you take an idea that it's like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great, to remake it and do whatever. It's not, man. Like, there's a reason why the nostalgic feat, or like the past of whatever it was, like if you'd have said, hey, we're going to remake MASH or something like that, iconic show, something like that. If you say, hey, we're going to remake MASH, why? Because
you couldn't remake MASH in today's society because it wouldn't be politically correct.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. Like, you look at a show like that, you look at like Cheers. Oh, well, actually, Cheers you could probably remake, but like, you look at some of the older stuff and it's like you could, some of it, sure, but some of it, I'm like, you can't, because there's a reason why they did it at that time, because they did it and it made sense and it was great. It was almost like if you were like watching it in real time, or like, in a sense of like it's happening when it's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, you do that nowadays, it's like, oh, cool. We're just watching something from like old school. It's like, who gives a shit? Like, leave it alone. There's a reason why it's in the past. People will watch it. Guess what? I guarantee you they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Alf. That's a great, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to remake that show, or we're going to remake,
There's already been talks of remaking that show, by the way.
Or was it Mork and Mindy, right? Or something like that, remaking that shit. Or I'm just saying, there's just shit like that where it's like, why do you feel the need to remake shit that has already been done?
I mean, they've already done Quantum Leap and they've already canceled it. So if that tells
really?
anything, yeah.
You mean the show that I was just watching and you were like, oh, it's great. Now they're like, oh, fuck it, we're canceling it.
Yeah, after the second season.
What the fuck? This is my fucking point. It's like, why do you make shit to then cancel it? This is what I'm telling you, man. They make good TV shows and they're like, fuck it, we're done. This is just getting too stupid.
It's so dumb. And you can't really explain, other than it's the Hollywood machine. And I could easily say, like, it's really not that hard to hire writers that are interested in the material, to write interesting stories, to write deep emotional characters, to create that environment where people are, generally interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
But they're writing stuff that is not interesting. The characters are not interesting. The characters are not deep enough. The script could fit into a high school theater play, and it's not interesting. And that's where we're getting into. Everything has to have its own spin, and when you focus on whether it's political, whether you're calling it woke or not woke, or whatever you want to call it, when you're focusing on anything else other than your characters and your story, you're not focused on the characters and the story, and you're not making people interested. And then that's where all of these stupid shows and movies and stuff are failing. That's why G.I. Joe failed.
No, and that's the thing. I agree that, you have this idea. You literally, it's almost like when we've talked about before. You have a fucking blueprint. You literally have material. You can go through it. You want to change it up a little bit, fine, whatever. You have a guideline. That's the fucking problem. Yeah. They have guidelines. If they want to remake something, sure, they have material that was already made. You want to make it slightly better? Sure. You want to change it up, maybe just a smidge, make it more modern? Sure, whatever. You can keep the same goddamn source material. You don't have to do the same things that they did back in the day. Hopefully the goal is you can remake, scenarios, or you can redo things, or, have an original idea. Oh my God, an original idea, Matt.
What?
That's so fucking crazy. I swear that's like unheard of nowadays. You want to talk about plagiarism? It's like, I feel like that's our problem with society. Plagiarism is like the biggest thing now.
I mean, Hasbro is the one making the stuff. So, I mean, it's not even really plagiarism on their part.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I was saying plagiarism as like, when, I don't know. It's like you just, hey, you don't want to fucking copy and paste. That's literally the society. It's like fuck it. Oh, you know what? That looks good. Hey, we're going to make it and see, let's see where it goes. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it has to be plagiarized. I'm just saying that.
I mean, at this point, I don't see the problem with using AI, because I think AI probably could come up with something better. And you know what? Using AI doesn't plagiarize. So there you go.
You're right. And it's funny, even though it's a machine. I mean, now granted, guys, I'm going to say this, and we all know that the more we play with AI, the more we're going to realize that, this whole Matrix Terminator theory could come a reality. And I really don't want that to happen, boys and girls. I'm just saying. So the more we keep deciding that AI is going to be the way of the future, this is when we start to look at the Matrix and, Terminator, and we're like, well, is this really going to be a reality? And it very well could be if we keep this shit up. So here we are.
Well,
but anyways, unless you have something else, Matt, I mean, I'm good. Because
I think we're good.
Okay, so guys, we appreciate you guys. Next week we're going to be trying to be, we're going to have a little special kind of an episode, more of a, I would say it's an evolve episode, but it's more deepening. It's more for the men, of the group here. We're trying to talk about some mental health stuff, because again, June is it's Men's Mental Health Month. Okay, trust me, Matt and I did not know that. I had no idea until he told me that was a real thing. So guess what, men? You have your own goddamn month. All right. Now, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it the way it is. And I don't care. I'm going to use it because this is what we like to do here. Don't be a pussy. Okay. You want to get help? Get help. It's not, I'm telling you, you can be a man and get help. Don't feel that you have to sit on your ass and not do a damn thing. Get help. Don't just sit and wait and make things worse for you, your family, your loved ones, whatever. Get fucking help. I said, if anything, just talk to a friend, man. I'll be like, hey, Matt, stop being a pussy. Get help. I'm kidding. No, I'm just kidding. That's the worst message I could give. Anyways, guys, anyways, I love you guys. We love you guys. We love how, you're supporting us again. Hopefully you'll be spreading the message. Check out that merch store, baby. I know we haven't mentioned in a while. We're trying to always update stuff. Just give us a shout. We can, try to make things happen, make some new things, whatever. Right. And until next time.
Stay geeky.